UK new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, on energy, renewables and the oil and gas sector. Sunak was announced as the Conservative Party leader on October 24, a Monday afternoon, meaning that he will shortly be sworn in as Prime Minister. He served as a Chancellor of the Exchequer, a title for UK's Chief Finance Minister, under Boris Johnson. Sunak subsequently resigned in July 2022 following some controversies about his principal. He arrives at a time when the UK's energy crisis is spreading like an epidemic as a result of disruptions in the gas supply and rising gas prices. The UK is primarily dependent on natural gas to produce electricity and heat homes, therefore, the energy crisis has a considerable impact on household spending. Increased investment in energy efficiency, renewable energy, clean transportation, and the decarbonisation of heavy industry can lower energy costs for households and firms, lessen the UK's reliance on volatile fossil fuel prices, generate significant job growth throughout the country, and support the UK economy's most important export opportunities. On this note, we take a second look at Rishi Sunak's past, present, and prospective stance on the energy sector, starting with his pre-resignation moments. In his tenure as Chancellor, the Treasury completed its net zero review. His numerous budget statements have also featured a number of newsworthy inclusions on the net zero transition, such as the establishment of the National Infrastructure Bank with a primary focus on climate change, the creation of a £1 billion net zero innovation fund, the introduction of sovereign green savings bonds, and the creation of pocket parks for underutilised urban areas. Sunak is a signatory to the Conservative Environment Network. Additionally, he has emphasized several times how important it is for his party to carry out the 25-year Environment Plan and Environment Bill. While pushing for the UK to achieve its long-term climate and environmental goals and leading the Treasury's huge net initiative, he has also made contentious anti-climate decisions. This included offering oil and gas companies super deductions and lowering the taxes on domestic flights, a move that would encourage air travel and intensify its emissions. Climate protesters met Sunak at COP26, but he continued by outlining a goal of making the UK the world's first net zero financial centre and of helping to rewire the financial system for net zero. The introduction of a £16 billion package of sovereign green bonds and the mandate for major, high-emission firms to have net zero transition plans by 2023 are two actions done to aid in this transition. Regarding the advancement of certain other green programs, Boris Johnson had apparently been quite frustrated with the Treasury under Sunak. According to reports, he botched the implementation of the Green Homes grant in collaboration with BASE, delayed the heat and buildings strategy. On May 26, while serving as Chancellor, Sunak introduced a windfall tax known as an energy profits levy on the UK oil and gas industry. Companies that extract oil and gas in the UK will be subject to it, but those who produce energy using nuclear or wind power will not. Along with it was a provision allowing energy companies to qualify for 91% tax deduction for investments in UK fossil fuel extraction. This raised allegations from the Labour Party that the government was giving money to oil companies, money that could have supported the household expenses. Sunak also unveiled a £15 billion support programme for homes in the spring, offering savings of up to $1,200 annually for energy customers that are more disadvantaged. He is categorised as voting typically opposing policies to combat climate change. For instance, he voted against the polluter pays concept being applied to public entities and against a prospective ban on burning peatlands in 2021. Post-resignation. As part of his promise to make the UK's energy supply independent by 2045, Sunak has in the past advocated for increased rooftop solar, offshore wind, and nuclear power. These remarks were reassuring, but now, he must perform. Mr. Sunak earlier stated that he would adhere to the legally binding net zero aim by 2050, but that he would abandon proposals to loosen the restrictions on the construction of new onshore wind farms in England. He may take advantage of the COP27 conference taking place next month to reiterate the UK's commitment to reaching a net zero economy by the year 2050 and to lay out specific plans for how they will do it, the advantages this will bring, and how the country will pay for it. In July, as his popularity seemed to be waning, he made a jarring U-turn and said he would abolish VAT on energy bills. It is uncertain if he would keep his word. Back in August, he made the case that it was pro-farmer to think about constraining solar production on agricultural property in an essay he wrote on The Telegraph. Under Sunak, the government may move through with plans to effectively block solar applications on large tracts of farmland. Following extensive media coverage of the proposed move, the Department for Food, Environment and Rural Affairs, DEFRA, is expected to release its recommendations by the end of the month. Rishi Sunak promised, in early August, that if he were to become Prime Minister, he would give additional money to help people with their energy bills. In a statement, he added that in order to directly assist people in dealing with the extraordinary circumstances, he first seeks energy efficiency savings across Whitehall. As the government scrambles to safeguard vulnerable energy consumers this winter, Sunak has signaled that he would prioritize insulation for low-income families above new technologies like heat pumps. According to Sunak, hundreds of millions of pounds should be redirected on a nationwide insulation program rather than heat pumps and decarbonizing public buildings. It is clear that his economic position has prevented him from enacting more interventionist measures that many experts say are necessary to reduce the United Kingdom's emissions in the short term, such as taxing high-polluting activities or funding sizable low-carbon infrastructure projects. In the past, he has stressed deregulation and developing technology solutions to the climate challenge in order to bring about growth. The UK is currently experiencing a severe cost of living problem and rising inequality. As a result of Truss's severe economic policy errors, financial markets are still uneasy. Sunak's commitment to providing money in support for vulnerable persons facing soaring energy bills is commendable and a glimmer of hope for green energy in the UK. However, his stance on UK oil and gas companies seems diplomatic and not reassuring for environmentalists. In all, he supports the target to cut carbon emissions to net zero by 2050 and believes with the right incentives for the clean energy sector, the energy crisis will be solved.